Hey everybody, this is Dan with Learning to Smoke. Welcome back to another edition here where today I'm going to be going over the steak chimichurri sandwich. If you aren't making steak and chimichurri sandwiches, then you're not making the best sandwiches in the world. This steak and chimichurri sandwich is seriously one of the greatest sandwiches I've ever eaten in my entire life. And I'm not just BSing you here. You have steak, chimichurri, provolone cheese, caramelized onions, all on toasted sourdough bread. And you can make this completely on your grill and at your counter too, because you know the chimichurri. And I'll show you how to do it. And if you haven't yet, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I have somebody in the shot here. Kids. For this steak sandwich, I'm using New York strip steaks, and I'm also going to do a seasoning blend of salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Now I'm doing equal parts of each here, and I'm going to mix them all together, and I'm going to sprinkle it all over on the steaks. I'm going to do that on each side here. And for this recipe, you can use ribeye steak if you'd like, or even picanha. That would be awesome, actually. But I'm using strip steaks because I like the bite to it. It's a little more leaner, but I like that it has that more beefy flavor to it. But as I say, it's up to you. And now you'll notice I'm sprinkling the seasoning in between the steaks on the cutting board. I'm doing that on purpose because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get the sides of the steak seasoned. So I want to season all sides. So I pick up the steak and I rock it back and forth on the sides there, and you'll see that it seasoned it just right. And so you'll see that I repeat the process and do that again. And now that these steaks are prepped, I'm going to take them over to the smoker. I'm going to get them smoking here at indirect heat, 225 degrees, and I'm using oak wood. And I like oak or hickory, those harder woods, when it comes to doing steak. I like the bolder flavors that they impart into the steak there because it enhances the natural flavor there of the beef. And I'm smoking these things using a 50-50 blend of briquettes and lump charcoal. I'm using Cowboy brand, not sponsored, but this is a brand that I love to use. I swear by them. And anyway, I put those in the basket to get them lit up. And after they're lit up for a little while, that's when I throw in my oak wood chunks. And I'll let that roll and smoke go for about 45 minutes. While those steaks are smoking, we're gonna make our chimichurri. So you'll see all the ingredients that we need here, include red wine vinegar, olive oil, shallots, garlic, red pepper flakes, salt and pepper, and dried oregano. And then I've also got the parsley and the cilantro. You'll notice I put down a wet paper towel and then put the cutting board on top. And I do that to help keep the cutting board in place so it doesn't shake around or slide around while I'm cutting on it. That can be very dangerous to your fingers. So I start chopping up the shallot just like that. Now a shallot, it's like a smaller onion, just a little bit of sweeter flavor. And I'm dicing this up into smaller pieces, and you see the method in which I do that. I just kind of gather the pieces as they go along. I'll gather them up into a pile, and then I'll take my knife and I'll do it in a rocking motion there, back and forth. And I'll keep doing that until I get them to the fine sizes that I want. I'm still working on it here. And now I'm going to repeat the similar process with the garlic, also with the parsley and the cilantro. A little background on chimichurri. This is a sauce that is used in South America, especially in Argentina. They love cooking over live fire and they love cooking their meat. So they have this steak sauce that they use with it. And I call it a steak sauce because it does go really well with steak, but you can pair it with other things too. Now you'll see with the parsley that I'm using here, there's two different types of parsley. This is Italian parsley or flat parsley. There's also curly parsley that you can use here, but we're doing the flat one or the Italian one because it has a stronger flavor. There's also an Italian influence in Argentina, so I like to think that that had something to do with using the Italian parsley. You'll notice as I pull out the cilantro that I'm using less than what I did with the parsley. So the cilantro and the parsley I feel like complement each other very well. The cilantro has a more sweeter flavor to it, a little more mild, and I think it helps complement the whole dish. With all the ingredients prepped, now I put all the dry ingredients in first. So there goes the parsley, and then I'm gonna put in the cilantro as you'll see, just like that. And now I'll start putting in the other stuff like the oregano, the red pepper flakes, the garlic, the shallots, and also the salt and pepper mix. And then I put in the wet ingredients. I put in the red wine vinegar and I put in the olive oil. Now you'll notice that I'm putting in more olive oil than I am red wine vinegar. That's usually the case. Usually it's about double olive oil to red wine vinegar. Mix that together. You want it to be a little saucy just like that. Now that it's been about 45 minutes, we're going to check on these steaks, and I'm going to use my thermopen from ThermoWorks to check the temps. I'm going to probe it in multiple spots. I'm just going to just probe one spot there. I'm going to probe the center, the left, and the right, just to make sure we're getting about 120 degrees. And I'm going to do that on each steak, and we're going to pull them off. And notice those grill marks. I'll talk about that later here. And anyway, so I'm going to let them rest on a little bit while I get this grill heated up for searing. Now what I'm doing here is making a very simple garlic butter. I'm taking some softened butter, some garlic, some Italian seasoning, and also some parsley since I have it. And I'm mixing that all together here, and I'm going to use that to smother on the steaks when I'm done searing them. I'm making it at this point because I'm just making good use of my time while I wait for that grill to turn up to searing temps. Speaking of, since I'm using the Oklahoma Joe Bronco Pro drum smoker, I'm going to show you what I do here to not just smoke, but also sear on the same grill. So I'm going to remove the grill grates. I'm going to take out that deflector plate and just set it down right there. And I'm also going to take out the coal basket sitting there at the bottom. Make sure you have some high temp gloves to carry this basket. As you can see, there's a fire in it. I'll put a link in my description for these high temp gloves so you can get some of your very own. And I'm going to put that deflector plate back in, and you notice how that deflector plate sits in the middle of the grill. Now, I can't speak for drum smokers from other brands, but I can tell you that this deflector plate here in the Oklahoma Joe Bronco Pro will be able to hold the weight of the charcoal basket. And then I'll put in the grates, and then I'll let that get up to temp. I gotta wait a few minutes for that to get roaring hot and make sure that we have at least a 550 degree temp that I'm looking for with the sear. I love searing in the cast iron skillet because it gets me an even crust on the steak, and I'm going to use some avocado oil in here because it has a higher smoke point than most other oils, which means that it won't burn as quickly as other oils would. And once we get to the hot enough temperature, I'm going to put my steaks on, and I keep my hand there because if I can't keep it there for 10 seconds, then I know that it's hot enough for searing. And I'm going to put the steaks on. As you can see, I'm doing this one by itself. And notice those grill marks? That's because it was smoking on the grill earlier. But anyway, I'm going to sear that about 30 to 60 seconds on each side. And look at the crust that I'm getting there. To me, that's good enough. And so I'm going to sear on the sides too. So remember, the steak has more than just the two sides, the front and the back. So I'm going to sear on all that side because I want to get that fat cooking a little bit more, get a nice little crust on it too. And then I'll do the rest of the steaks. Probably rest of them the other too. Now flip them over, similar process. As far as the doneness go, I like to have my steaks medium rare, and so that's what I'm cooking them to. You can smoke them for longer if you want it to be at a more done temperature if you like. Or sear them a little longer, but like I say, I love the crust that I've got right here. And now I'm going to take that garlic butter that I made earlier, I'm going to smother that all over. Sometimes you see people, they'll just put a little dollop on the steak and just let it go. For me, I like to spread it all around because I want to make sure that that garlic buttery flavor enhances the flavor of the steak everywhere. And as I do that, I'm going to let those rest for about 10 minutes before slicing. The reason I let the steaks rest for about 10 minutes is because I'm letting those juices build up inside instead of just slicing into it right away and just watch them all run out. And as I let that rest, I'm going to start taking my sourdough bread and I'm going to smother it with some mayo. I'm going to do mayo on both sides, but maybe you didn't notice this, but I dropped a little dollop of mayo on the ground. Yep, it happens. Anyway, so as I said earlier, I'm just going to put that on both sides, and I'm going to throw that there on the grill. I'm using Duke's mayo because, well, I just like it. It's got twang, apparently. And I'm going to take these slices of bread, I'm going to put them in the cast iron skillet, and I'm going to let that cook for a little bit before I flip them over and check on it in 30 seconds. And as I do, I'm going barehanded because, yeah, I'm tough. Anyway, I flip those over, and I'm noticing that the greases from the steak as well as from the avocado oil that was already in the pan are starting to really absorb into the bread. And so I'm realizing at this point that I should just put these on the grates directly instead of just in the cast iron skillet. However, I'm not ashamed. I'm not sad that I got some extra flavor in that sourdough bread from putting it in the steak juice there. I'm going to flip that over after about 15, 20 seconds just because it's more over a direct flame and I'm getting the perfect toastiness that I want. I flip it over about 15, 20 seconds every time until I get the desired toastiness. So I got those set aside and now I'm going to start assembling my sandwich. But first, gotta slice up that steak. It's rested about 10 minutes now. So I'm gonna start slicing in. I'm slicing in against the grain, which this is the traditional way of doing that because it gives you a better bite. And you'll notice that as I'm cutting it, I'm going with pencil thin slices. This is ideal for steak, even brisket as well. Go thicker if you like, but for me in my house, I choose pencil thin. Now we gotta see how it cooked on the inside. What do y'all think? Too rare? Overcooked? Just right. Let me know in those comments. But I'll tell you what though, it was awesome. So good. Now we can get back to assembling the sandwich there. I got some slices of provolone cheese, and I'm going to use my little food torch to help enhance the melty process there. I like to have my cheese a little more melty because normally you pull it out of the fridge and it's just cold and firm. It doesn't seem to go well with the consistency of the warm sandwich. I'm going to throw on my caramelized onions, which I made beforehand. These take about 45 minutes to an hour to make, but totally worth it for the best steak sandwich. And speaking of steak, I'm throwing those slices on. I do one row, but you know what? I decided I'm going to double stack it because I like steak. And now that I've got that on there, I'm going to spread on that chimichurri sauce that I made earlier. These flavors complement each other so well and goes great on a sandwich. Find the recipe on my website. All right, so just to follow up, normally in my videos, I have myself eating the sandwich, but I filmed this a while ago and I ate that sandwich, so it was awesome, by the way. But anyway, if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe and you'll get all that wonderful barbecue content from me. And until next time, I hope your days are filled with good times, good friends, and good barbecue. All right. Cut. Like, I'm fine to go.
Would you rather?
Yeah.